Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Ricky the CEO, and you're watching the Packed House Live podcast, episode 6. And we got another special guest, my guy, man. This guy is a media and tech entrepreneur, passionate about the intersection of Web3 and human potential. I know y'all don't know what that means, but we're gonna teach y'all today. He's an entrepreneur, like I said, man, owner of Aeterna Media and founder of 10K Foundation. Man, we got my guy Will Preble in the building. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's good, Ricky?
My dog, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you having me on the show tonight.
No problem. Thank you for being on the show, man. So this is my first question, man, because I met you. Man, we met weird, bro. It's like a movie for real.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a movie for sure.
It was really a movie. And we was at a man, y'all ain't gonna believe this, but we was in George Floyd Square. It was right after George Floyd got executed. And we were in a meeting in a like it was a restaurant, but like it was like a movie where it's like ain't nobody in the restaurant. We just in there and we talking about how to combat what's going on in the city. And me and him connected after that, and I came and helped with some of the things that they were doing for these marches. So it was crazy, man. We definitely gotta recreate that for the movie one day.
Man, yeah, I mean, it was a different time for sure. Yeah. Important time for the city, painful time, but I mean, I think we just started. I remember you coming in, and we had that office over in North Loop. Yep. That we had just actually signed a lease on for the agency, and we're doing video shoots and stuff in there. And then George Floyd happened, and we were like, all right, we gotta step into action. We gotta do something, right? And so I think I remember meeting you at a planning meeting for one of the marches. Right at we were planning marches, and then we were actually right after that we were giving out a bunch of food to the homeless camps, and so it was one of those two planning meetings that we were sitting down in that office, and you were like, hey man, can I help on the marketing side? Can I do whatever? And I didn't really know you, and there was a bunch of people in there who were talking, and I was like, sure. I mean, a lot of people are saying they can do this and that, but then you came through. I remember you helped us get a stage, you helped us get a bunch of stuff, and I was like, okay, this dude actually knows what he's talking about. Yes, right? So that was the beginning. But yeah, no, that was a tough time, but definitely a beautiful, in a lot of ways what's happened here in the past couple of years has been beautiful as well, to see so many people like us, who probably would have never met, I may have met somewhere else, but wouldn't have started working together like that, just come together and collaborate on something was really cool to be a part of.
100%, man. So tell us a little bit about how the 10K Foundation came about, because you guys really stepped into action immediately, and was a big catalyst for all these big marches and bringing people together to, like I said, combat this injustice that we continue to deal with. So how did that come together so fast?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a few, honestly, there was like 4 or 5 groups together. There was Justice Squad. There was a few different groups that were all kind of working together at that time. And really, I think everyone just kind of came together, because it wasn't a time for excuses, in our minds. We, people were mad. People were out there, there was people coming into the city from outside of the city, like starting riots and stuff. And it was like, okay, we live here. This is our city. This is our community. Like, we got to do something about it. Me, myself, having grown up in St. Paul and, live in Minneapolis now, but, I just kind of, been working with a lot of the people who, been here forever. And for me, it was, a bit of an outsider, but I knew it was a moment when I needed to support. I just needed to do whatever I could to do the right thing. And so I did what I knew how to do, which was, organize teams, and do marketing. And so I helped a few organizations, including 10K, just get people to the marches, organize different aspects of it, and really just pull in a lot of volunteers and make sure everything ran smoothly. For some of the marches, and then like the community, we were going to homeless camps and giving out food, and we were doing a bunch of stuff during that June. And everyone was really, there's a lot of groups, Twin Cities Stand Together, families supporting families against police violence, and a bunch of groups that were really out there on the front lines doing the work. And so I was just blessed to be around and be a part of a movement, and be around to learn from people who have been doing it for a long time, because there's a lot of people out there who had been doing it for years. This was just kind of the moment when the world started to pay attention. So what I've really learned too, and what I've kind of taken that work into, is that if you're going to live in a city, if you're going to live in a community, and you want to call yourself a leader, I mean, you got to know what's going on in your community, and two, you got to take responsibility for the reality, that's the reality that people are experiencing right across the board. Every socioeconomic group, every racial group, every, if it's your city and you say you care about it, put your money where your mouth is. And for me now, I'm in media, I'm in tech. So what I've been doing recently is working with a nonprofit called Smart North that's actually building teen tech centers in South Minneapolis and different locations, because that's, how I feel now, focusing on the long term, like how can we impact the next generation? How can we give people the tools to create economic freedom, and stuff like that. So I think it's in that moment, it was a timely moment to get involved with the movement and really what needed to be done on the ground right away. And now I think it's like, okay, what do we do for the next 10 years? What do we do for the next 20 years to make this place, what it really could be and should be for everyone?
100%, man. I love that, man. And like he said, these guys are really boots on the ground, making things happen and making a difference in building systems. So, from everybody, I definitely appreciate, we appreciate you and all you guys, because Will, he's humble, but Will is he's really one of those guys making the moves, man, and making the decisions and putting things together and making it actually come to life and executing.
I'm just a guy trying to add value to the world. So however I can.
Man. I appreciate you, man. You're the GOAT. So I want to know about, your experience. I was out there with y'all. I think I went to one march, and I ended up going back to Vegas until I was building Packed House Live, actually. But I went to one march, and it was crazy. We walked far as heck, but it was a crazy experience being in that energy. We taking over the streets, everywhere, and people coming out of their houses, waving at us, joining us, the music playing. It was amazing, man. I want to kind of know your experience. And how did it feel for you to continuously, be out there with the people?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of emotions, right? It was, it was a lot that I would consider myself, fairly empathic, fairly like I pick up on people's emotions really naturally. It's just kind of something I've always been kind of gifted, for better or worse, with. So being around that, it was a lot to take in, especially, again, seeing and hearing some of the stories from and understanding the reality, that people have been experiencing for so long, that I was, especially growing up, even, right outside of Minneapolis, over in Roseville, for several years, in St. Paul, just oblivious to. It was, my mind was really opened, I would say, in a lot of ways. And I was just trying to take it in. I was just trying to support, but also learn, and figure out, for me, what did it look like for me as I, try to figure out where my areas of leadership would be long term. And so I felt like it was an important, an important thing for me to be a part of and experience. But at the time, I was just, honestly, I was overwhelmed, and I was just kind of compartmentalizing and doing the work that needed to be done. I wasn't really thinking about it. But being out there with 30,000 people on a bridge, or 20,000, whatever it was, in that one march, I know we had one that was 30,000, like, that was crazy. Like
Crazy,
I'd
man.
never seen or experienced anything like that in my life. Like on a spiritual level, it was meaningful. It was something that I firmly believe, you know, getting that many people together, singing, you know, we were on a bridge singing like spirituals and stuff. Like Javonta Patton was out there at a few of the marches, like leading us. And so just to be a part of that, you know, see all the people from very different backgrounds processing what was going on, many people processing trauma, like using those marches to actively process and work through trauma. You know, it was a lot, but it was definitely a beautiful thing.
100%. And you talk about the bridge. I'm gonna get off of this, but the highway situation, man. Like what happened from your perspective? That was thank God, you know, no one was hurt. But that was just, you know, obviously a viral thing that just went crazy because this guy drove through the march on the highway in this big truck, and it was wild to watch. So, and you were there. So, what was your perspective being there?
Well, I was actually I was on the off ramp on Washington with a few other people. And so when the bridge came, like we were up there trying to grab someone to bring him onto the bridge, who was potentially going to come speak to the crowd. And when the truck ran into the crowd, my little brother was over on the side. He actually jumped out of the way of the truck, but we couldn't see what was going on the other side of the barrier, right? So we thought, you know, this truck just ran over 100 people. That's what it looked like from our side. So we went running back down onto the bridge, and I mean, the way I don't know, I can't speak exactly to what was going on in the cops' minds and how they responded to that. It seemed very violent. You know, certainly didn't seem to be. I mean, people were understandably upset, understandably freaked out. You know, and it's unfortunate that happened, or, you know, everything happens for a reason, but that was, you know, a very beautiful moment right before that truck came out there. People were sitting down, people were, you know, really gathered together in harmony and in purpose, you know, for that whole march. So it's unfortunate that that's what people remember, because people always remember kind of the negative things, of course, and that was a crazy situation. But I do hope people remember, you know, everything else that led up to that moment, too, because it was really a beautiful event and a beautiful situation, you know, before that truck came, and obviously what happened. So
I was just happy that nobody got hurt, man. Because that was
absolutely,
that was wild. And then Beyonce posted it. How that you know, that was a great moment after to just show how beautiful that you know, that march really was, and that you know, what you guys were trying to get across, still I feel like still got across 100%.
Absolutely.
So let's lighten it up a little bit, man. So tell us, you know, you said you grew up in Roseville. I know you're a hooper, you know what I'm saying? Tell me a little bit about how it was growing up, and, you know, how your life was, and leading into, you know, who you are now.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in Roseville and St. Paul, kind of bounced around a little bit. And I guess I would say I was always curious. I didn't, you know, I guess the best way to describe it would be not just curious, but I didn't like to play, you know, within the rules, right? I was always I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur at the time, because I just didn't have the confidence, or I was like really shy as a kid. I read a lot. I was very introverted. Wasn't really until end of college that I started to kind of step into myself a bit, and really get out there like that. But I did. So in eighth grade, there was this class, right? And we had a huge final project. It was like a history global studies class, I think it was called. And we had this huge final project, and I thought it was really dumb. Like, it was like we were about to graduate from this middle school, and they were making us do this huge thing. And so what I did was, like, I calculated, you know, what I would have to get on every other assignment in that class, to see like if I could, how I would still get an A, because I was like a straight A student at the time. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get an A, but I don't want to do this project. So I was like, okay, if I get this score on everything else and I got a 0 on this project, and like literally don't spend the last 3 months of my class doing nothing, I'll still get an A in the class. And so I did that. And I was kind of like, I figured out your game, right? Like your game is you want people to get an A so they can go to, this is what you're telling me. You want me to get an A so I can go to college, so I can go get a good job. I did that and I didn't do the work. Isn't that like actually better?
Right.
They didn't think so. Although I did, I got the A, but
right, exactly.
They were kind of mad because they were mad because the teachers were mad because they were like, like this is disrespectful. Like he's not doing the work, but it's like, okay. And I feel that way about, a lot of things, in life, and a lot of things, socially and in the corporate world too, where I was for a little bit. I mean, really, you got to question why, like, and you got to really set yourself up to create the outcomes and the experiences that you want. And so from an early age, I was questioning everything. I was curious. I was just trying to figure out like, okay, like this is the way things are, but like, do they have to be like this? Right. Exactly. Like, how can we make it better? How can we make the world better? How can I make my life better? Or how can I, just play this game a little better? So, I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I think that's kind of representative of who I was as a kid and why I took the path I did. So
when did you get into media and production and things like that? That was your first thing that you started was in media?
Yeah, the first company that I like officially started on my own. So I have a degree in data analytics and a degree in finance, and I went into the corporate world, worked for Optum, the healthcare company, United Health Group, for about 7 months in a data science and machine learning team, more on the business side. It was a good job for someone who had just graduated, but I was so super unhappy, going into a cubicle every day. And so, but what I realized, I was starting to sell some like Amazon products and just kind of play around. I had encountered Tim Ferriss, if you know who Tim Ferriss is, and and some of the podcasting, just like a bunch of the big podcasts and entrepreneurs and motivational, Tony Robbins, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna improve myself. I'm gonna figure it out, right? And create, some income streams for myself, and then figure out what I want to do, because I can't stay, in the corporate world. It's not for me, right? Yep, for sure. So I had started, I started my agency in 2019. After I'd kind of been freelancing and just trying a bunch of stuff. I'd quit my job by then. And I got into media because I came from the tech world, and I came from like a job and a role where I was like really disconnected from people. And I realized really quickly that if I was going to be a successful entrepreneur, in whatever field it was, one, I wanted to do something that directly impacted people. I didn't want to, work in some obscure technology company that I'm never going to see the results in the real world ever, or for 20 years. I wanted to work in a field, work somewhere where I could like directly impact the life of someone, whether that, is always, not that I was always doing like nonprofit work. Marketing is very, could be all over the place, but I knew that I needed to have that skill set, the understanding of media, understanding of marketing, if I really wanted to go anywhere. And I honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. And so I thought, my best option was, I'm 23, I'm young. I know I want to be an entrepreneur. Let me get into this field so I can pick up this skill set and then see where that takes me. Right. And so that's how I got into media, and really started with influencer marketing was kind of how I cut my teeth, and then got in more into production, and have a team that does digital design, and we've done AR, VR. We built First Avenue in virtual reality, hosted a virtual concert back in 2020, before the NFT craze started. So I've been pushing us to do edge stuff, emerging stuff, really as a way for me to, one, to find great brands that want to be innovative and get paid to do cool stuff, but also just for me to learn too and see what's possible as I continue to spin up new ideas and figure out where I want to go, business wise and personal brand wise.
For sure, man. Yeah, you're doing some amazing work, man. I didn't know you guys made a virtual reality version of First Ave and had a concert. What the hell? That's crazy. That's crazy, man. No, I love it, man. So I always gotta ask this, man. Like, have you ever wanted to give up on your dreams, and you felt discouraged, and you like, man, I don't know if I can do this, and what helped you stick with it and stick with this vision that you have in your head?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I've wanted to quit many times, and let's take a step back. I don't know that I've wanted to quit necessarily, but I've definitely there's always been something in me that was like, on some level, I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. But there's been many, many, many times when I've doubted my ability to succeed, right. Or been really down. And I've dealt with some health stuff too. And, just recently, even this year, found out I have like severe mold toxicity, grew up in like a basement that flooded all the time. And so like just was dealing with some crazy health stuff over the last 2 years, like autoimmune stuff where I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. And so like, there's been many different obstacles that I've run into where I've been like, I know at some point I'm going to get through this, but like, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've been broke. I've had people steal, pretty much everything I had from me at one point, even before I started my company, when I was, kind of cutting my teeth in the entrepreneurial world. So I've been down and out, not out, but I've been down bad, like 4 or 5 times I can think of in my mind where I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like, I just got to take it one day at a time. Sure. But it's always been something where I always kind of come back to like Nishi, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's like the more that I have gone through, and again, now when I look back, like the challenges that I thought were the end of the world are like, oh yeah, like I deal with that every day. It's like, oh, that business problem. Yeah. Like, that was 5 times last week. It's not a big deal now, but, it's all, what I realized, one, it's all relative. Like, usually the problems or the thing that we think is everything really isn't. And everything passes. Yep. If you keep going. And 2, like a crisis or an obstacle is the best time for you to reinvent yourself and the best time for you to seriously like grow and evolve. Because when things are going well, you don't necessarily have that drive or that force. Like, you have to create it in yourself, but you don't have that thing that's like forcing you to adapt. Like, if I don't adapt, I'm going to die. Right. Exactly. And when you get into one of those positions, if you allow it, it can be a really beautiful thing, and it can force you to grow, to evolve, to ascend, and to become a person who can, conquer whatever it is that stands in your way. Right. So I would say, it's the biggest thing for me has been like reframing how I look at challenges, reframing how I look at, obstacles, and actually kind of inviting them on some level and seeing them as an opportunity.
Exactly. I love that, man. I always tell people the only time that you fail is when you give up. That's it. As long as we keep pushing it and finding some way, somehow to just, like you said, day by day, just take that step. Take even if it's a baby step, keep moving forward. And we can't never give up, man, because we need you. We need all of y'all. We need all of us, man. So we got to keep pushing it.
And there's like that quote that gets thrown around every month or so on Instagram, where it's like, Jay-Z, the only smart thing I ever did was like never give up, or something like that. And it's like, it's so cliche, but like actually it's like the truest thing ever. Like, and actually, if something is cliche or feels cliche, there's probably some really deep and meaningful truth in it. So you should pay attention 100%. To, because like really, it's not that complicated.
Right.
Right.
It's
So
just
like,
difficult, but it
yeah,
ain't
just don't give
complicated.
up.
That's what they say. It's difficult, but it's not complicated.
Facts.
So look, man, what can we expect from Will Preble coming into 2022?
Yeah, a lot. I think, for me, I know for you for a fact with what you're doing with Pack House, I think both of us are going to be in a very different place at the end of 2022 than
100%.
we are today. And I'm excited to hop on a podcast with you in a year and talk about it. Cause I know it's going to be a whole different world, and I know how motivated you are, and I know how motivated I am. So, yeah, it's hard to even say, but I'm working on a project right now that's, I think it's pretty big, or could be pretty big. It's an equity crowdfunding platform. And I really haven't talked about this publicly yet, but it's an equity crowdfunding platform for artists, where every artist can launch their own cryptocurrency. And it's almost like, if you think of Robinhood or Coinbase, except every artist has a token and you're buying and trading those tokens. That's essentially the experience of it. And it'll be public probably late January, early February, where we can actually reveal the brand and everything. But I'm really looking at Web3 as like my main focus for 2022. And just because of the timing, I think it's, with blockchain technology and the possibilities for building decentralized applications, and then the financial modeling of, how can I empower an artist to take control of and monetize their brand even when they're small, right? How can I, tokenize a community where they can be self-sustaining, in really any industry. Like, there's so many potentials. Obviously, NFTs have been a big thing in 2021, but I think we're just scratching like the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. So yeah, I'm gonna be focusing on Web3. I got that project and a few others I'm consulting for in that space that I'm pretty excited about. There's a company called Webland I'm doing a little work with right now that's really cool. Definitely going to be hearing from them in Minneapolis here pretty soon. Kind of like a social incentive platform for community engagement with a blockchain component. So there's a lot coming.
That's what's up, man. I love it. I love to hear it. You always in the future, man. Very innovative young guy. How old are you? Tell the people. I'll probably think this man 35. How he talk? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Okay. So yeah. Young. See, I've been knowing y'all. I've been knowing you for 2 years now. That's crazy. Time is flying, man. I met you. You were like 24 or 23 or something.
24. I
was
24.
Like, man, this dude is young as heck out here running stuff. I love it, man.
Old soul, man. It's old soul.
So what would be your advice for, young creatives that really want to level up in 2022?
Well, look at Web3. Like,
yeah,
I know I'm preaching it right now and chilling it all over social media, but for real, like if you're new, you're young, you're trying to cut your teeth somewhere, I would say look at what's going on in Web3. Look at NFTs. Look at what's happening in the music space, what's happening, in all the creative industries right now, because there's really some life-changing opportunities if you get into the right circles, get involved with the right projects where you could change your life forever, like really quick. It's like the beginning of the internet, except, I think long-term will have more impact, but that's a whole nother conversation. But also I would say, just get yourself out there. Don't be afraid to reach out to people like myself, you, people who are out there doing it in the community right now. On the entrepreneurial side and on the marketing side, media side, look for influencers, look for people that you respect, and actually like resonate with their work and their word, like what they're saying, and reach out to them. Ask to do some free work, ask to get involved. And then just, don't be afraid to put out your work to, like, if you're an artist, a creative, just get something out there and start going, because the process of iterating to improve is more important than like sitting around forever and waiting until you have it perfect. So, whatever your specific type of creative art is,
put it out. Put it out. I love that, man. This is my last question. I got to ask you this. because I know you're gonna give me an amazing answer. 'Cause one day, Will may be a politician out here. So, what does justice for all mean to you?
Man, I think justice for all means the equality of human potential.
I love that.
Right? It's like I think, and again, I know I apologize for continuing to come back to it. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about what's going on in Web3 is because like it's about ownership, right? It's about you're creating networks that give ownership to the people that participate in them. So that if like Ricky is an up and coming artist, he has the same ownership opportunity to, like, if he becomes really good and builds a following and gets somewhere, you're going to own your masters. You're going to own your work. You're going to have control over your brand 100%. As opposed to like having to go through gatekeepers and having to go through just really honestly like sociopathic business infrastructure that really isn't set up for you to succeed. And then, you know, obviously I'm really passionate about, this is again, like a little bit in the weeds for this answer, but I'm really passionate about digital equity. It's why I'm involved in the nonprofit smartnorth.org. If you want to look us up, you know, especially no matter where your zip code is, like you should have the same access to technology and the opportunities to be educated and the opportunities to have career pathways around technology and creative arts and, you know, other disciplines as well.
Sure.
But I think that's really big because we have, you know, we have obviously like the school system, but not everyone has access to the same opportunities when like a new technology hits, right? And I think what's going on right now is really an important opportunity for all of us who know what's happening to say, hey, like, for example, I'm in Minneapolis, you're in Minneapolis, this is our community. Again, as leaders in this community, what are we doing to make sure that, you know, not only the kid in Minnetonka, whose dad is the CTO of Wells Fargo or United Health Group, has access to the opportunities and with NFTs and becoming a developer or working, you know, as a creative or a salesperson in this industry or whatever they want to do. But how do we make sure that the kid in South Minneapolis has that same opportunity, that same access to technology, is able to get their hands on, you know, AR, VR, and all of these things that are coming. And, you know, it sounds crazy, but are actually, you know, you think 5 to 10 years from now for a kid that's 11, kid that's 15, right? That's like a legitimate career opportunity for sure. That they could be completely missing just because they don't live somewhere where they have access to not only just the technology, but the right mentorship and the right opportunities, you know, surrounding that. So I'm really passionate about that. I think if we're going to talk about justice, we have to talk about access. We have to talk about ownership.
I love it, man. You know, that's what we're about here at Packed House Live. It's ownership.
Absolutely.
And generational wealth. And that comes from ownership. Like you said, we've been going through the gatekeepers for forever. And social media has made it where we don't necessarily have to go that route anymore. And we need to be able to pass our work down to our families. Like that's what this all is about, is creating that generational wealth, passing your work, your knowledge, your resources, everything down to your family, so that this thing can keep growing and keep building on top of your last name, whoever you are. So I love it. You know, I'm all about independence and ownership, and we taking it to the top.
That's what you guys do.
It's what we do, man. So thank you so much for coming on here. This was a legendary interview.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
It's all
really
love,
enjoyed it.
You know. Yes, sir. It's all love, and I appreciate you, man. I definitely am a big supporter of everything that y'all got going on. And you know, anytime you need me, call me. And you know,
likewise,
I'll be there. You know, I'm pulling up, man. So appreciate you. Have a blessed night. You my dog forever. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, Ricky. Talk soon.
Talk soon, man. Thank you. So yeah, y'all just heard it. That's my boy Will Preble. Brilliant, genius. And this dude is crazy, man. He's doing so many amazing things. Such a good soul. You know, like you said, they're in the community trying to really give opportunity, build systems, build infrastructure for the next generation. And you can't hate on that, man. All you got to do is support. Find a way to support. Find a way to get out there and inspire the next generation. And it's all about ownership as well. So we also gotta stop just going the same routes that we continue to go, every generation. We gotta change it up. We gotta fight for our ownership. We gotta fight for our families, and we gotta put our family first. And that's what this is all about. And put our community first. So yeah, man, I love Will, man. That's my dog. And you already know, man. You watching Packed House Live Podcast, Season 1, Episode 6. We just getting started, man. I'm gonna talk to y'all soon.